If you had the opportunity to live in a children's wonderland, would you choose anywhere else? We don't just say, we do. It's the Stain City way.
Hello and welcome to Real Talk with me, Anele, right here on SABC3. The stage is yours. On today's show, we are chipping the iceberg on a beast that is affecting a lot of people, not just here in South Africa, but the world over, and that is cybercrime, cyberbullying, just any shenanigans that can happen on the internet. Cybercrime is defined as any crime that can be committed by a means of a computer device linked to other computers through the internet. Though victims are not physically threatened, its effects can lead to loss of money, reputation, self-esteem, and in the worst cases, loss of lives when victims are unable to handle the violation. I have in studio cyber safety activist Anele Leibowitz and Anele Liebenberg, educational psychologist from the South African College of Applied Psychology. Ladies, thank you for your time. Let me get myself here because we are going to chat today. Anele, let me start with you. What is cyberbullying? Just so people can understand what it is that we're talking about today.
I think a lot of people get confused between cyberbullying and face-to-face bullying, but there are a lot of elements that are very much the same. It's obviously an imbalance of power, and it's a repeated offence against somebody to harass them, make them feel small, establish a hierarchy. Big difference between face-to-face and cyberbullying is that the perpetrator in cyberbullying can do it once, but the audience is limitless. So that's where the repeated action comes into it.
And am I also correct in saying that the difference between face-to-face bullying and cyberbullying is the face-to-face one, you have to have met me at least once, whereas cyberbullying, you and I could have never laid eyes on each other, but you're using platforms to reach me and to belittle me and to bully me.
Absolutely. So it's the anonymity of it. Although, mind you, quite with a lot of research, people say that they generally know the people that cyberbully them. Yeah.
Okay.
But there is an anonymity in the audience as well of the people that see the cyberbullying going on, so the bystanders.
Okay. Anele, welcome back.
Thank you.
You are a repeat effort on the show. High five. There we go. So can you take me through the different elements of cyberbullying then?
Yes, and if we speak about cyberbullying, one thing that I would like to add is the fact that the bully goes home with you. You know, it's no longer just on the playground. You actually can't leave. You don't close the gate behind you and you're safe at home. The bully goes with you to bed. And
you don't skip school and not see them or skip work.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but there are different types of cyberbullying, and cyberbullying can happen not just through words, but images, comparisons, pictures. So all those things, kids have these WhatsApp groups and then they have competitions where they say who's the stinkiest kid in class, for instance. So there are different types or different ways to do cyberbullying, and then the different types. Everything from outing through exclusion, and then there are other words like fraping, where it's related to your Facebook profile and so forth. So there are different types. And I think as adults, you know, if you really look at the terms, the terminology, when it's cyberbullying, we're talking about kids bullying each other. When an adult steps in, it's harassment and so forth. But what's interesting is the fact that adults don't always realize that they are bullying each other as well. Yeah,
to them it's like all in jest. No, we're debating, it's a conversation, but it actually comes down to bullying.
Yeah.
I've heard of fraping, and I know this is showing my age now, but can you explain, because he says it refers to Facebook profiles.
Yes, and I think we'll talk more about it later probably, because it's really a combination of the very ugly word from Facebook, rape. So your profile being hacked in a sense, and your images being used and so forth.
Okay. Yeah. So Anele, can you tell me why cyberbullying is on the rise? Because I was looking at, obviously more of us are getting smartphones, I get that, and then data, even though people say data must fall, but I mean, why is there such a big amount that just keeps on rising?
You know, there's with cyberbullying, research shows that 93% of grade 7s have their own cell phones. And with a cell phone, you've got access to the internet, which obviously has great advantages. But the disadvantage is the cyberbullying that takes place. And most of the bullying takes place in what we would call our senior phase, from grade 7 to grade 9. And it's a transitional period in a child's life where they're trying to find their space in their social environment. Where do they fit in? And they're also going through puberty. And it's because it's so prevalent among this age group, it's also very difficult for them to handle. You know, they don't know where to turn to, which is, I mean, your organization does great work with that. But they often don't know where to turn to. And it's increasing, it's still much less than face-to-face bullying, but it's increasing at a phenomenal rate.
And of course, like you say, if I go home, I can leave the bully where they are. But you know, I know that saying, nothing on the internet is ever forgotten. Surely cyberbullying can follow you all the way to varsity, to when you're working and your employee is searching your name, and then maybe there like a unsatisfactory picture of you pops up.
Everything stays online. There are ways to block things and get certain things removed, but people can find it if they need to. So, and it's 24 hours a day. And a child, an adolescent specifically, has their cell phone with them 24 hours a day. It's their lifeline. It's their social interaction. And a great fear that they have, if they do report it, is that they're going to lose access to that social interaction.
So are schools putting in place programs and rules inside like the school rule book? Because it's difficult to police something that possibly happens off the grounds, right?
Yes.
So, you know, as a parent, how am I curbing this whole cyberbullying thing? Can I go to the school and say, Johnny is cyberbullying Michelle, what are you guys going to do about it?
With that, it's the problem is nobody quite knows who should take responsibility.
That's my issue.
So, of course, if it's happening from, you know, in a school situation, I mean, our Constitution says that a child has the right to feel safe in a school environment in order to learn. And if they don't feel safe in the environment because they're being cyberbullied, then it is the school's responsibility. And so it rests at schools, it rests with parents, it rests with the community to teach children the right internet etiquette.
This is where you come in.
Yes, but I want to say from a school's point of view, they are really working hard to get the right policies in place. I mean, some of these things are so new, and so they have policies about cell phone usage, online usage, access to the internet. If they have Wi-Fi, when can you access, how can you access? They even go as far as having letters for parents to sign if they're allowed to take photos of the kids and then publish or post that on social media. You know, whether it's a hockey group or a, you know, something
School
great
tour.
that happens, do the parents give permission of for those kids to be photographed? So schools are working hard in this space, and I can see that because we work with Federation of South African School Governing Bodies and many other, you know, industry players are really focused on how do we take this problem and make it work for everybody. Because I agree with what you said in terms of they need to feel safe at school. However, it's not really the principal's problem if your child's being bullied on a social network, because it doesn't happen under supervision of a teacher. It's on a device. So there are grey areas, and that's where
this is my cry. This is what I want to know. Whose responsibility is it to police it? Because obviously there has to be consequences and I mean punishment and all of that stuff. But the nature of a bully is the fact that they don't show their parents that side of them. I don't think there are many parents who know that their child are rubbishes like that. You know what I'm saying? So when you tell them, they're like, not my Alake. He would never do that. Do you know what I'm saying? So in that regard, then whose responsibility is it? Because the parent doesn't know and the school has got no power.
And you're right, because sometimes they just make a joke. So they're not really intending, they don't want to be malicious. But however, it comes back to the home. You have to have a good relationship with your child.
We preach this all the time, communication with your kids. While the online world of technology has given us so much to be thankful for, it also has a very real and very dark side. Today, we tackle cyber crimes, including cyberbullying, and later in the show, we'll touch on another disturbing trend known as catfishing. Join in the conversation by sending your voice notes to our WhatsApp number on the screen. You can ask any question you want. What has your experience been? Have you been cyberbullied? We will be right back. And welcome back to Real Talk. Today, we're talking the world of cybercrime, and I have Anele Leibovitz, a cyber safety activist, and educational psychologist Anele Liebenberg with me in studio. So we're calling this cybercrime, but the issue is, when you hear cybercrime, you think somebody's stealing money out of your bank account, and then it ends there. But cyberbullying is in itself a crime, right, Anele?
Absolutely, it's harassment, and often a person fears for their safety. So it definitely is a crime.
So, Rianette, here's what I want to know is that, since we're speaking about, you know, the bank accounts, your money getting taken, cell phones get recorded, right? You have to go record your bank account so that people can know who you are in case shenanigans happen. How is it that we can't get that going when it comes to downloading of the apps such as Twitter and Facebook and all of that? Are we moving towards a place where we can do stuff like that?
I think it's a good question, and it could be you know, there's so many opportunities to actually improve.
Yeah.
When we talk about these apps and so forth, one thing that I've noticed is that people don't take the terms and conditions seriously, and what you actually, the permissions you give the apps, and the fact that they've got age restrictions. I mean, WhatsApp is, you know, age restricted to 13, and there are good reasons for that. The same with the social media platforms. So yeah, it's good questions in terms of what can we do to make ourselves safer, and the reality is, as we develop those things, the hackers and the criminals will also be more, you know, creative.
Smarter and creative. What's your take on that, where you get to a point where you're not allowed to get an app, or is that like destroying the beauty and the freedom of the internet, where you're not allowed to subscribe and have a profile if you have not proved to us who you are?
I think the difficulty with that is how to monitor it.
Yeah.
You know, who's going to monitor it? Who monitors the apps? Who monitors the apps that a child has on their cell phone? I think parents need to check. You know, a lot of parents sort of hand over the phone, and my child must have a phone for safety purposes, so that I can get hold of them when I need to. And they don't think of the fact that they're actually exposing their children to a whole world out there where it's so easy to download an app. And it was news to me now that WhatsApp
is an age
13. I didn't know that. As far as I knew, every phone had WhatsApp. You know.
It just comes with WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So, do we have any reported incidents, Anele, where, you know, you go to a police station and you open up a case and say, I am getting cyberbullied?
That's not my area of expertise, but I would assume that has happened. And I've got to wonder at the desperation of somebody who actually goes to the lengths to do that. How terrible is what's happening to them, affecting them, that they actually do that. So I'm sure there are many cases of that kind of thing, because bullying is reported to the police. Cyberbullying falls in the same category.
And I know that when it's like face-to-face bullying, like you were talking about it earlier, that, you know, at times your child will come home and you'll see that they've got a black eye or a scratch, or their shirt is torn. So those symptoms, you know, you can see them.
Yes.
What are the symptoms to look out for when your child's being cyberbullied then?
Well, I think any change in behavior, if they start isolating themselves, start feeling depressed, sad, don't want to go to school, don't want to go out, they don't want to interact with other people. They don't want you as a parent to look at their phone either. As I said, a lot of them are so scared of reporting it to parents because they feel they're going to lose their phone privileges. And that to them, that's the end of the world, you know. And
not necessarily the fact that you're getting cyberbullied. All right, on Twitter, @Lutando says, roasting is one example of cyberbullying. We are getting roasted here on Twitter, and, you know, tears, 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 tears. Are you aware of roasting on Twitter?
Yes, and I think it brings us back to, and something that you just mentioned, is the fact that people think they can just on online platforms say anything and everything and to anyone. And with the young ones, they don't know how to deal with these things. So if they're on Twitter and they are being roasted, their identities are still being formed, so they're not ready to deal with that yet. As adults, look, if you're on the platform, you need to realize that you are exposing yourself to that and that you should be able to at least have a thick skin. But the fact that it is wrong and right is part of the digital dilemma that we face.
You know, you just touched on something and then you made my mind go, and let's I'll bring this to you. And because you are speaking directly to the parents, and I hope as a parent you are listening to her, because this is very important. Clearly the danger of this entire internet, apps, social media, cyber vibe is the fact that ordinarily your 12-year-old child would not be sitting with a 32-year-old having a conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were walking like in a shop and you're shopping and your child and now your 8-year-old is talking to a 32-year-old man, you're going to be like, Kaibo, what's going on here?
Right there.
And now with Twitter and Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram, that's what you're finding.
What I find amazing is a lot of parents feel they don't want to invade their children's privacy by looking at their phones. And surely it's not an invasion, it's more a protection. And, you know, the problem with cyberbullying as well is, they call it the social presence theory, with the roasting, for example, is a child cannot see the reaction the other child is having. So they don't learn how to, their social development actually goes backwards, because they don't learn how to see, okay, so now you're reacting in that way, now my reaction must be schooled by your reaction. So they don't quite understand how to react to that kind of thing. But parents play such a big role in this. And, you know, I'm also aging myself, but parents see the internet as a useful tool, basically. Whereas children see it as everything. You know.
It's their world.
It's their world.
So, as a parent, are there ways, because I mean, if you're gonna, it's like if you're gonna get bullied, you're gonna get bullied. It's how you react to it, right? You tell them, walk away, you know, don't answer back. If it gets out of hand, you know, stand your ground, go to a teacher. What are those safety measures for somebody who's getting bullied on the internet? I'll start with you, then Renee, I'll come to you.
Well, definitely tell somebody. You know, we find that children would more likely tell a friend about it. And if you're the friend that's being told, you need to assess the situation as well and be responsible. Somebody at school needs to know. Parents need to know. So just talking up, you know, speaking up and saying what's happening is probably the most important thing to do. And then the adults can take over. They should be able to. But the thing is, children also feel I must be big enough to handle my own problems, and they're children. We've got to have sympathy for that.
Well, we share with the kids that social media is a highway, but there are drunk drivers and the ones without licenses, and unfortunately the young ones are the ones without the licenses. So we need to teach them, and that's okay for them not to know how to do everything. And if they are being bullied, then don't respond, don't get hooked in, first of all. Then take screen grabs or screenshots of the conversation so that you have that as evidence, and make sure that you then speak to someone you trust, and hopefully that person will then make the right choice. And don't tell your kids, oh, it's not a big deal, and get over it, because in their world it is part of their identity forming process. So for them it is a big deal, because they are the ones who go back to school and need to face the rejection because yesterday you were chosen as the stickiest kid in class. So they face all these things that we didn't have to as kids. And as parents, you know, we need to be like burglar bars. And this is what we say to the kids as well. People who care about you will hide the poison up in the cupboard. They'll have burglar bars. They'll protect you. In cyberspace, you need that protection from your parents as well. And that is having them as a Facebook friend. They're not there to comment. They're just there to, you know, view what goes on. They're there to have those parental control apps on your phone so that they can just have an overview of what's going on your phone. And all those things help, and it makes it more difficult for someone to be bullied. And then if they do speak out, we have to help them.
I think the most crucial thing you said there is that the internet is a highway. There's fantastic drivers with cars that have been serviced and brilliant brakes, but then there's also people who don't have their licenses, who haven't slept in 3 days, and they've been drinking. So this is how you must treat it. If you have any questions for my guest, please tweet us at Real Talk on 3, and we'll be getting into your WhatsApp shortly. Don't go away. And welcome back to the show. If you've just joined us, we're talking about cyber crimes, which are receiving an increased level of scrutiny, particularly because the number of teenagers being bullied on social networks is increasing, and its effects on the victims is in some cases tragic. Social media law expert and author of Don't Film Yourself While Having Sex, Emma Sadler, now joins us. Before I come to you, Emma, the WhatsApp line, let's talk about this. please don't call it. Just send your voice notes, because now what you're doing is you're not going to talk to me because I'm here now, but I can hear the messages. So please don't call the WhatsApp line. Just send your voice notes. If you want to say I look wonderful and you like my lip color, send a voice note. Don't call. Thank you. Emma, you wrote this book, right?
I
Don't
did.
Film Yourself Having Sex. And it was coined as the book every varsity student should be reading.
Yeah, so it is really a codification. I, like Rionette, speak at schools just about every single day. And the schools are in crisis, children are in crisis. Everybody who uses social media needs to navigate this very difficult highway that you were just talking about. So despite its fairly risque title, because there is a big section on revenge pornography, which is a very big theme that we're seeing in social media law circles, it's really how to deal with social media, what the laws are, what the disciplinary consequences are, how to look after your children, social media in the workplace, that kind of thing.
Anele, you were nodding when she said the schools are in crisis. Is it really that bad?
You know, the schools, I've been involved with forming anti-bullying policies at certain schools and so on. And the knowledge that a lot of the teachers have about cyberbullying is not adequate. So the talks that you guys do at schools for, I know you do for children and for teachers, is essential. And teachers have a lot on their plate. I mean, let's be honest.
Now I must educate you and then I must protect you from the monster that is your phone.
Yeah.
Because I mean, already,
a lot to do.
I just believe phones shouldn't be allowed at school, but that's just me being backwards. But
and yet phones are a great asset at school as well, because they can be used in the classroom for all sorts of academic things.
Yeah. Perhaps I could just interject there, because that's one of the big things that parents are saying to me. My child needs to be able to contact me. What if there's a drama? What if there's a crisis? What if they're in trouble? What if the time for netball practice changes, or there's rain and it gets cancelled and they finish school earlier? I'm begging all parents out there, consider getting your child a very basic phone. There is no reason that a 13-year-old or a 10-year-old needs a smartphone.
Oh, there we go.
You get a basic phone, and there are a lot of phones on the market. There's some that you can just pre-program, literally 5 phone numbers, and your child can contact any of those 5 people at any time. The 3 things that really worry me about the smartphones is the internet connection, because it turns us all into publishers. The screenshot, because it's just changed the game. I mean, the screenshot is the devil. It means that those private conversations are just not private anymore. And the 3rd thing is the camera, because it's turned us all into celebrities, and it's turned our friends and our colleagues and our children and our parents into the paparazzi. And a big component of what I'm speaking to these children about is not just what the law is, not just what the disciplinary consequences are, but how important it is to look after your reputation. That we're all celebrities
from an
now.
early age.
Exactly. Because the internet is so permanent, the possibility exists that your child does something so serious as a child or as a young teenager, and it can literally impact them down the line. You know, we've seen this week Harvard rescinding offers to 10 students. So Harvard University had accepted these 10 students into the university. They were all on a Facebook group.
A private group?
A private Facebook chat.
Yeah.
And it was, and they've all had their applications rescinded. I mean, their places at Harvard rescinded. So it is very, very important, I think, to start being aware from a young age that you are a celebrity, even if you're a child, and you've got to look after not just your real world CV, that you're getting good marks, that you go to university, that you get a good degree,
your digital footprint.
but your digital footprint, because the first thing an employer does before they give you a job is to you know, Google you, make sure that they're not going to embarrass you.
Emma touched on something like saying consequences. Do you find that when you go into the schools and you know the programs that you do you find that they are reactive? Are schools being proactive where they getting the 3 of you out there to give the talks before anything happens? Because I think that is how we can decrease the rising numbers.
Yeah, well, it's a big hot topic at the moment in schools. So luckily they are reaching out and they are being proactive and they want help. They do say, listen, we're not sure how to deal with this and we want parents to feel safe, etc. But there are the cases where they call and they say, listen, we're in big trouble now and we're deep. So how do we deal with this? And then, yeah, that's where we really try to assist them. And I'm thankful because there are many people in the industry who speaks about cyber safety. And the more, the better. But then they also need to know where to go for help.
Oh, I want to touch on something now. The little girl who was recorded swearing at black people. Here's the thing, is that, so she's 17 years old. So as much as what she did is very wrong, and it's terrible, and the school has to treat it like she's done a heinous crime. I find that because we're all emotional about it and we're tweeting and we're posting and whatever, surely that's going to reach her. Aren't we cyberbullying her?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
Anele.
often we see the reaction to these very high-profile social media incidences being worse than the original content. You know, if we think about what happened with Penny Sparrow, what she said was inexcusable on every front. She's been found guilty of criminologia, she's been found guilty of hate speech, but she was getting rape threats, she was getting death threats, she was really not safe, I think, in society. And I think that we need to be very aware of it. The public shaming, the digital vigilante mob that comes out in full force when people mess up is a very powerful and very dangerous mob.
Touch on that, please.
I was just going to ask you, you were mentioning the Barbara Streisand effect before, about how when something goes out and somebody tries to block it, the exposure that it gets as well. I found that exceptionally interesting because I don't know if you want to take that.
Please tell us again.
So really, you know, one of the big issues that we face is that we do have laws that protect us. So for example, if I send a naked picture to my boyfriend, which is something that's happening, I'm afraid, at every single school in the country, and something that is the two biggest issues I see.
Kids are sending each other naked pictures of each other.
It's become, I would go so far as to say, it's become a societal norm for teenagers to sext each other. So the two biggest issues at every single school, cyberbullying and sexting. Now, if I send you a naked picture, you send it on, there's no question that I've got a claim to sue you for privacy infringement, because there's no question you've infringed my privacy. The problem is, often the more we do from a legal point of view, the more people end up finding out about it, rather than if we just sort of shoved it under the carpet. Sometimes I've had 5 clients this year at school who've had to change their name to escape what comes up when they Google themselves on the internet, because everybody has this voice now. Everybody's become a publisher, and what comes up when I Google you is really determinative for your long-term prospects.
At school level, people are changing their names.
Particularly victims of revenge pornography. So children who've sent naked pictures, those pictures have gone viral, been put on international porn websites, for example, with names tagged. Those websites are coming up when the children Google themselves, and it's very difficult. Once content is out there, it's out there. It's very difficult to get something removed from the internet. So the Barbara Streisand effect, to go back to it, was that years ago, Barbara Streisand found out that there were aerial photographs of her house.
Not her naked tanning, just her house.
There may have been somebody tanning, but it wasn't Barbara Streisand herself. And she felt that this was terribly infringing of her right to privacy. So she brought an urgent application to the court to get these photographs removed from the website. It was sort of like drone footage, that's what we would see now. And they could show from the statistics that there had been 4 people who had looked at those photographs on the internet by the time she launched her application. By the time the court had finished hearing it, there were 800,000 people who'd seen those pictures. So the more we do sometimes to try and get something removed,
The more it calls attention.
the more people end up seeing it.
Okay, so after the break, we talk catfishing, so stay tuned. But also don't forget to enter our weekly competition where you can stand a chance to win yourself a 5,000 Rands e-gift voucher. And we've got a voice note from a teacher. Oh, the teachers weigh in. Come back to us. And we're back, and our topic today is cyber crimes, which is on the increase worldwide. It is important to note that because our online identities are an extension of our physical selves, the more we use the internet, the more we susceptible are to having what we put on the internet used against us at a later stage. Another example of this is catfishing, and the scary part is that a whole new person can be created online with your face. Look, it's flattering if somebody thinks your face will get them a date, but I mean, it can be dangerous. We'll get into that just now. Before we do that, we've got a WhatsApp from a teacher. Let's hear it.
Hi, Anele. You're speaking to, well, this is Lebohang. I'm a teacher myself, and I must really say that the schools are in a real crisis with regards to bullying, internet, WhatsApp groups, and all of that. And we had Emma to come in, but she spoke to the parents and the teachers. But I feel like as a teacher, you can only do so much, because some parents are either in denial or they will not do anything about the issues. So what do we then do if there's instances of bullying at school and the parents have just become brick walls? So in other words, they don't want to assist in any way.
Well, that's the problem, and the parents do have this "never my child." I've been in a meeting with a parent where a parent actually fainted because we told her what had happened, and she said, "No, it can't be, not my child." But the thing about living in this digital age is that there's always evidence. Somebody's always taken a video, or like this Pietermaritzburg girls' high school case that happened this week, where the girl sent the message on WhatsApp, sent the voice message. There's no coming back and saying, "Oh no, I didn't say that on the playground. I didn't say that over my lunchbox." The evidence is there. So I think parents, and because parents are the ones giving their children these smartphones, they are really the ones who have to really get jacked up about the kinds of dangers that they're putting their children in the way of, because, you know, even if that child gets expelled, the school takes it very seriously, whatever's gone wrong is going to follow that child to the next school.
The next school, and then the next school, and then the next school, and then the next school.
Exactly.
Somebody just tweeted us, Dineo_Mpala says, what I always remember from Emma, she said, if you won't put it on a billboard, don't post it.
Absolutely. Number one rule of thumb, if you wouldn't put it on a massive billboard next to a huge photograph of your face, your name, the name of the school you go to, or if you're an adult, the name of the company you work for, and whatever it is you're about to say online, then don't say it, because the laws are exactly the same as if you'd put it on that billboard. The disciplinary consequences are exactly the same, and the impact to your reputation is worse, because even if that billboard is up there for years, at some stage it's going to be taken down. But what you're putting online stays there forever. We talk about the tattoo effect of the internet, that it stays there, it doesn't go anywhere. And actually I've extended that billboard test since whenever I spoke at that school, and now it's, if you wouldn't put it on the billboard, don't let it exist in digital format. Not inside my phone, not inside your phone, not in a private message, not in a photograph. Yeah, not in an email. Nothing that can come back and bite you. And I promise you, the screenshot is the devil. You and I are WhatsApping each other, just the two of us in the conversation. You think what I'm saying is hilarious. You take a screenshot, you send it on. Then it gets back to the teacher that I've been saying things about the teacher that I shouldn't have been saying.
And then the teacher starts victimizing you as well, because now they've got an attitude problem towards you. And then later, I want you to touch on something. So I found out somebody is, and this is like from a psychological level, right? I found out somebody is bullying my child on Facebook, and being the Reiki mom that I am, I open that Facebook, I'm like, Yahweh, now, and I'm out there, you know, having it with them, giving it with them. What is wrong with that situation?
Well, don't respond. That's the first thing. You know, the minute you become reactive in a situation like that, you're actually escalating the problem. So the whole thing is, do not respond to any messages like that. Rather, find out what you can do through the school, through the legal route, than actually get into a back and forth response with somebody.
Because if it was happening face to face, I mean, I just remember somebody, you know, bullying us at school. My mom rocked up on the playground and was like, "Hey, what's up, player? Let's talk." Do you know what I'm saying? That's what she did. So now that is the training I have, is that if somebody's bullying my child, I'm the one who's like, "Yay, not here." Do you know what I'm saying? Is it different because it's on the internet now?
Yes, it is, because as you say, it's there forever, and you are becoming part of the problem then.
And no one can see that I'm the adult in the situation. Yes. Okay. Rianette, what happens if I find out my child is the bully, is the cyber bully?
Well, there must be a reason why he or she is bullying the other person, and it's good to discern then. Is it just they're making a joke, they just, you know, trying something new, they are doing competitions or whatever, maybe they were dared to do that. It's good to find out what the reason is, and usually there is a deeper reason, you know, and if you can get that to that problem, then you can solve that. But if your child is the bully, it's very important to then take the necessary steps and do what you would normally do. First of all, apologize. Secondly, go and say, I won't do this again. Maybe there's a good reason then to see, is it really a good time for that child to have the phone? But what you said earlier as well is really important for parents to remember, because we see parents posting photos of their kids' rooms that are messy, or they are putting them in embarrassing situations. That's also part of that child's digital footprint. And then you need to consider how you actually, you know, if you take your child's phone, it's so harsh on some of them that you need to really consider whether it's the best way to punish them or not.
Emma, legally, what can I do?
Okay, so when it comes to bullying, there are options. Strictly speaking, bullying is not a crime in South Africa. But we do have the crime of crimininjuria, which is when somebody seriously infringes your dignity. So if I say something really terrible to you, that, you know, that feeling inside that you're really hurt, you can go and lay a criminal charge against that person. Now, bear in mind in South Africa, and this is what people really don't understand, Children are criminally liable for their own actions from the age of 14, sometimes even younger. I think there's this big presumption that everything happens when you're 18.
Yeah.
Until then you're a minor and the police can come and arrest you and you can just say, oh, well, I'm so sorry, Mr. Officer, but I'm so young. Please don't arrest me.
Look at my ID.
That's not what the law says. So over the age of 14, you are a full criminal. You're treated as an adult. So if you punch somebody, you'll be arrested for assault, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we've got criminuria. We've got harassment laws, which are incredibly powerful. It's a new act. They're calling it the Cyberbullying Act, but it's called the Protection from Harassment Act. And if your child is being bullied and it's really affecting them, it's causing them any kind of mental, emotional, psychological harm, or even a fear that that harm will be felt, you can rush off to any magistrate's court. You don't need a lawyer. You fill in a form and you get something called a protection order. And if that child who's been bullying your child so much as sends your child an SMS, that child can be arrested for infringing that protection order. So it's a very, very powerful law. And I think one of the biggest issues is in the context of sexting. What happens often is that these particularly young girls, although it's happening on both sides, they get really bullied into sending naked photographs. And, well, if you don't send them, then you obviously don't like me. And like constant harassment. We've got to first teach that no means no. And I've just dealt with a case where a girl actually attempted to commit suicide because she had eventually sent a naked photograph of herself, she's 13, to a boy who'd asked her 56 times for a naked photo, and she'd said no.
No, guys, that's sexual
every
harassment.
Single time. And eventually she sent one picture to get him off her back. He sent it to all of his friends, and she tried to commit suicide. An absolutely horrific case. If your child is asked for a naked picture, that is a crime of solicitation of child pornography. You can lay criminal charges against that person, and in my view, you should. And then if you've sent naked pictures, this is just very important, and somebody's threatening to do something with those pictures. Either I'm going to send them to everyone at school unless you pay me money, or if you send me more pictures, please contact us, because we are able to help you in that situation. We can get undertakings, we can get a protection order, we can lay these criminal charges. Don't wait until that content has been distributed, because as we've already discussed, once that content is out there, it's out there, and it's very difficult to get it back.
So, Anele, if somebody takes a naked picture of my child and sends it to their friends, am I still not allowed to go and say what's up to him in the parking lot?
I think no.
On that note, we'll be right back. I'm just asking. And welcome back to our final segment of the show. This is Real Talk on SABC3, where the stage is yours. We've got another WhatsApp. Can we please roll it?
Hi, everyone. I'd like to ask a question. What are the measures that the police are allowed to take, or should actually take, when you report that you've been cyberbullied, your identity has been stolen, and basically your life has been ruined by these people? What are the measures that they can take to help you?
Well, it's a very good question, and one of the realities that we're facing is that often the police are ill-equipped to deal with these very new technologies, these very new crimes. You know, just something like sexting, we're dealing with in pornography cases, the Sexual Offences Act and the Films and Publications Act. These pieces of legislation are decades old. There was no way that the people who drafted those laws could ever have foreseen. I mean, even our Constitution, which is pretty new, actually, there was no way we could have foreseen that we'd be communicating in the way we do now. So sometimes our laws are very outdated, and sometimes the police are just not that jacked up in terms of knowing what does the Protection from Harassment Act say. You know, so I think that one of the most important things would be to try and get somebody to help you, not just going straight to the police station. Certainly telling somebody at school. The schools really are trying very hard to keep themselves up to date with these ever-evolving laws. So I would say that's the first step. But there's no question that if somebody is seriously bullying you, that person can be arrested. You can sue them for defamation, you know, hurting your reputation. You can lay criminal charges for infringement of dignity. So there are legal avenues, and the police have these powers. The problem is that sometimes they're loath to use them.
Yeah, and if I may add, I think the cybercrime unit at the police is working so hard, and they're doing amazing work to find these criminals, especially when it gets to you know, acts against children and so forth. They find these criminals, so they work really hard. It's just not as easy to get to them. And
Because it's
think
an
about
anonymous
it,
nature.
one wallet being stolen instead of a phishing scam with 2,000 victims at once. So they have a very heavy load that they work with, but they do a lot of good work as well. Yeah.
Okay, we've got another WhatsApp, this time from a mother. Anele, I'd like you to pick up on this one.
I have a question. My children are 16, 15, and 14, and they have access to their cell phones. I'd just like to know, is there a way that we can block them from seeing certain things on the internet, like how we can block them from pornography? This is a big problem for me, especially when there was this whole Slender Man thing and the blue whale thing. I want to know if there's a way I can protect them with a blocking app.
Well, there definitely are blocking apps as well. The other thing is when children are on their cell phones, they're alone in their rooms on their cell phones. So the possibility is of taking them, letting them hand their phones in at a certain time at night, and when they are accessing the internet, to do it in a public space so that parents can keep an eye on that. But you would know about the apps and things that
there are really nice parental control apps. There's Net Nanny that many people know. The Kaspersky Lab has got Safe Kids, and some of them you pay for, some of them have a free version. And those are good. Those are like the burglar bars I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's just there another layer of protection, and it actually tells you if your child moves out of a certain area. So they are
So
really,
what does
really
it alert you on your phone?
Yes, yes. So you've got the app on your phone and your child's, and then, yeah, you are alerted, and you can actually be a parent on their phone then. And, yeah, I think that there are so many apps and tools available.
There's one in particular that I like. It's called Our Pact, and what it allows you to do is to just cut off their access. So if they're late for dinner and you know they're in the room on Instagram, you can press a button on your phone, which means that they can't access their phone anymore. But I do caution against any false sense of security because of any of these apps. I do advise getting these apps. I do advise having filtering software on the Wi-Fi at home. But you can never stop the user-to-user content. And, you know, a platform like Twitter is probably the worst porn site in the entire world. We talked about the age restrictions earlier. There is no age restriction on Twitter. The average age of first exposure to pornography in South Africa is 11. I think that if you give your child a smartphone, they are seeing pornography. You can't stop that. And I think that where we should be focusing is having the conversation about pornography. What does it mean? What are you actually seeing? How is that impacting you? Understanding that that's not the real world, that those are paid actors in that content, and that's not, you know, just to really start managing expectations and to make sure that these children understand that that world that they're seeing is not the real world.
We got a tweet. Someone says Nurse Gladys Shabalala from Nedcare Hospital in Pretoria committed suicide after her phone was stolen, nudes were leaked, fiance dumped her, was going to potentially lose her job. She couldn't deal with the shame, so she committed suicide. When that happens, Emma, legally, can my employer fire me?
No, I mean, there are laws around bringing companies into disrepute. You do something illegal, presumably you're bringing the company into disrepute. If you're under the age of 18 in South Africa, it's illegal to take pictures of yourself naked. The law says that's creating child pornography. If you're over the age of 18, there's nothing illegal about it. I do just once again remind everyone of the billboard test.
Yes.
If you wouldn't put it on a billboard, don't let it exist in digital format. And
don't film yourself having sex.
And it's an absolutely awful example, this case with the nurse.
Yeah.
But it does remind you that the content was leaked not because she sent it to somebody who sent it on. It was her phone that was stolen. Phones get stolen, phones get hacked, phones get lost. Anything in your phone is vulnerable. We also saw, you know, often phones, pictures are automatically backing up to iCloud.
Yeah.
You delete the pictures, you forget about it. That's what happened with Jennifer Lawrence.
Your iCloud gets hacked.
And the iCloud gets hacked. And you've forgotten about it. You've deleted it years ago. You think it's gone. The problem is digital content is dangerous content. That's the mantra I want everybody to repeat.
Yeah.
Digital content is dangerous content.
And let's, if I want to get hold of you, what programs are you currently running to curb this whole cyberbullying phase that we're going through?
I'm currently setting up, you know, going to schools and talking to teachers and parents.
Yeah.
Not so much the children at this stage. And, you know, where I lecture at SACAP, we obviously work this into the curriculum all the time. as potential psychologists, what should you be putting online as well. So to contact me, you can contact me on my email address, which is anele@mweb.co.za.
Thank you so much. Rianette, any programs that parents should be aware of that you're working on?
Yeah, we're so excited because Safety Net Cyber Safety is partnering with Cartoon Network and Childline. And we are so excited because from the 23rd of June till middle of July, there will be some cartoons going on air. And there will be a microsite with lots of information and cartoons and just place for kids to go to if they need help. And besides that, Safety Net is always speaking at schools. We work very closely with the school governing bodies to really assist them with the policies and the things that they need to have in place to protect both the schools, the parents, the kids, and to help them, to be there for them. And we want people to come to us if they're in trouble. Yeah.
Emma, I know you've spoken at length about the fact that you go to schools as well. Just quickly before we say goodbye, I know that you do corporates as well. Do you really have to be teaching adults how to use the internet?
I'm afraid common sense is just not that common, Anele. Obviously the issues are totally different when it comes to companies. It's the employment law issues, when you can be fired, don't bring the company into disrepute, don't bite the hand that feeds you. So everybody needs to hear it. And we also have to appreciate that all of this is just so new. So what actually comes much more naturally to the children, for older people especially, like the fastest growing demographic on Facebook is women over the age of 55. It's my mum and her friends. so we do need to teach it. We need people to understand about privacy, about establishing your own privacy and that kind of thing.
All right. I love that. It's my mum and her friends. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much to all the tweets that were thanking the panel, saying that really you guys have enlightened them. Parents said they're going to be more vigilant and kids are going to try not to be nasty to each other any longer. Thank you so much to our guests, Rianette Leibovitz, Emma Sadler, and Anele Liebenberg for joining us. I hope you at home are a bit more enlightened on the all too prevalent and real cyber threats that are out there. Keep in mind that because the scope of the crimes that can be committed over the internet are limitless and uncertain, we all have to be responsible. Like I said, thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow, Butiza Patko Mafani is in the house. Make sure that you join us. Good night.